Continuing on a personal note, in what ways do you combat McDonaldization in your own life?
Well, I avoid McDonaldized settings as much as I possibly can, and I always equip that the students will always ask me, do I ever go to McDonald's? That's a usual question that I'll get. And I'll say, it's my ideal place to go when I have to go to the men's room, because generally throughout the world, one of the things you can count on is the McDonald's restroom is going to be cleaner than most of the other competition. So, and it always seems to me kind of a strike, I'm striking a blow for freedom by going into McDonald's, urinating, and then leaving without buying anything. So I'm not sure that's akin to Paul Revere or any kind of Nelson Mandela or any kind of revolutionary like that, but that's as close as I come to revolutionary sort of act. So, the problem, though, is that if one wants to lead a non-McDonaldized life, it's very difficult to do it. It's part of the iron cage of McDonaldization idea. That is, it's hard to find non-McDonaldized settings. And even the settings that you think of are not going to be McDonaldized turn out when you go in there that they have internalized more and more of these McDonaldized kinds of principles.
What advice do you give to students and others who want to resist McDonaldization in their own lives?
Well, I have a long chapter in which I talk about how individuals, groups, communities, organizations can resist McDonaldization. And part of that is a rather long list of specific actions that individuals can take. So one that I have had in there for a long time is do not take children to McDonald's, but if you must take children to McDonald's, blindfold them. So in an earlier edition, I got an email from a student, absolutely enraged student, who was furious at me. She said, how could you possibly recommend that parents take their children to McDonald's and blindfold them? Do you know what kind of a traumatic effect that's going to have on children, and on and on? And I had to tell her that it was just tongue-in-cheek. I was just joking. Sometimes, I think one of the strengths of McDonaldization is that it's a book with a sense of humor. I try to have a sense of humor in that. I try to have a sense of humor. It's kind of whistling to the gallows sort of thing. I try to have a sense of humor about these kinds of things. So now I have a little footnote there which says some of these suggestions may be tongue-in-cheek kinds of suggestions. But the serious point is that there are lots of things that individuals can do. The easiest thing is don't go there. Cook a hamburger from scratch at home. I mean, I know it's a radical idea in modern America, but there are those kinds of things. There are certainly mom and pop kind of restaurants or non-McDonaldized settings all over the place that one can go, although it takes some effort. If you drive from New York to Washington on 95 and the Jersey Turnpike, it's a perfect example of the iron cage, because if you want to eat along the way, you get off at any stop, all you have are fast food chains. There's no other alternative to that. And so what you're forced to do, if you're really serious about it, is you got to get off the highway, maybe pay your toll. And of course, what you're immediately going to find are fast food restaurants. Mm-hmm. But if you're willing to wander off the road long enough, you're going to find some local, we used to call greasy spoon, and find a restaurant. So the problem for individuals it's difficult to do this in an iron cage kind of environment, but it's still possible to do it. But there are also things that local communities can do, keeping McDonald's out, keeping McDonald's at bay. As you know, if you don't keep it at least at bay, your whole community is going to be McDonaldized. And in fact, I think as I travel around the United States and the world, what you see is more and more areas which are made up only of McDonaldized operations of one kind or another. There are important organizations that are involved in opposing McDonaldization. The two I always talk about are McSpotlight, which is the website organized by a group in Great Britain that were sued by McDonald's in a libel suit, in a famous libel suit, and they have been a kind of global center for opposition to McDonald's. And then probably the most important movement out of Italy is the slow food movement. There are what are called convivia, which are local slow food organizations throughout the United States and throughout the world. And they, as the name suggests, they are opposed to fast food. They are in favor of slow food in all its meanings. And basically, what they want is humanization as opposed to the dehumanization of McDonald's.